Okay. Good evening. This is the August 13th, 2026 meeting of the St. Mary's County Board of Appeals, located in the Commissioners of St. Mary's County Meeting Room of the Chesapeake Building, 41770 Baldridge Street, Leonardtown, Maryland. I am Chairman George Allen Hayden Sr., here with 4 other board members. We have met our minimum requirements for a quorum and will now proceed with the meeting. And we'll start with the introductions. We'll start to my left.
Donald LaRocco.
Michael Valky.
Good evening, John Brown.
Ronald Payne.
And Ms. Weaver's not with us this evening. Steve Scott, our board attorney, is with us. And St. Mary's County supporting staff, John Sterling Hauser, Deputy County Attorney, Stacy Clements, Planner 4, Land Youth Growth Management, A.J. Cheney, Planner 2, Land Youth Growth Management, Amy Carter, Video Media Producer, Manager, and Daniel Salser, Video Production Technician. We had 3 public hearings this evening, and our first hearing, before we get started, the staff, if you'll, I'll get you all sworn in, please. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony, responses, and statements you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And our first case this evening is a continuance from June 11th, 2026. Variance request VAAP 26-0180 Henderson. And Ms. Clements, if you would give us just an update of where we left off from last time and where we are today,
Okay,
please.
that sounds perfect. Okay. Okay. The first public hearing tonight is a continuation of the variance application VAAP 26-0180, the Hendersons property, from the June 11th, 2026 meeting. The case was originally called the Anthony and Gildry, but on July 17th, 2026, the property changed ownership. The request is a variance from section 71.9.6.h to reduce the northern and southern extended property lateral line setbacks to construct a pier. Okay, the legal ad was printed in the local newspaper, Southern Maryland News, on May 22nd and 29, 2026. Certified mailings were sent to the adjacent property owners located within 200 feet of the project property, and a public hearing sign was posted on the property on or before May 27, 2026. Okay. The new property, or the new owner of the property is Robert Bruce Henderson, and the property consists of 10,000 square feet and has an existing home. It is located at 24295 North Patuxent Beach Road in California. It is zoned Residential Neighborhood Conservation District. Okay. The water access tract has an existing platform, which will be, the proposed development is a 6-foot by 250-foot long pier with a 10 by 20 L head and a boat lift. The permit has been approved by all agencies and just requires the critical area, the variance to the lateral lines. Okay, we have the site plan here. Okay, so the blue hatching depicts the site, the pier. This represents the northern lateral line, and this represents the green lateral line, lateral line for the paper road. Now the property on the north, the lateral line setback is 25 feet, which will hit right about here. And for the southern paper road, it'll be, for the green one, will hit right in the middle of the pier. Additionally, on the other side of the paper road, we have a lateral line that impacts the property too, and is shown right here. Yes. Okay. Okay. Is there any questions
Yes,
for
can we
staff?
go back to that last slide,
Yes.
please? Where the pier is located, there's a green lateral line.
Yes.
And explain that to me again, please.
Okay. We've got the Henderson property right here.
Yes.
We have the Dodges right here. We have a paper road right here.
Okay,
Okay, and then we've got the Hall property right here. This green line is an extension of the property line between the Hendersons and the paper road.
got you.
Okay?
Yeah.
It gets offset 25 feet for a setback, a lateral line setback. Okay? So if there's any proposed development of a pier within the two green lines, a lateral line agreement or a variance is required.
Got you.
Okay?
So from the northern side, can you show us where that 25-foot
Okay.
would be off of that
Yep.
line?
See, we've got the red line here is the extended property line, and offset 25 feet is this red property line.
Okay,
Okay?
yes, ma'am.
And then from the southern Hall property across the paper road, we have the pink lateral line extended, and it's depicted right here in pink,
Okay.
which impacts the boat lift. Okay?
Right. Is everybody okay on those lines?
Yep,
Okay, thank you.
perfect. Thank you.
So, okay, so that's where we are from our last hearing.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, the applicant, along with the Dodgers, were supposed to kind of work it out.
Yes, sir.
So it's what we hear tonight is see whether they have worked it out or not. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
That is where we left off.
So since the property has changed names, is
Mr. Henderson?
the Anthony O'Gildy is going to be still presenting, or is it Mr. Henderson is going to be presenting?
Actually, Mr. Henderson sent a letter, and or an email earlier this week, and gave permission for Miss Anthony to represent him tonight. And it is on diligent.
Mr. Henderson, I see you kind of straining. Do you hear what we're saying at all?
I'm listening.
Okay, I didn't know if sometimes the acoustics is bad out in the audience.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So, Miss Anthony, is she here? Then you need to come up front, please. And you can have a seat. But before you sit down, let me get you sworn in, please. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that your testimony, responses, and the statement you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Okay. Have a seat, and for the record, if you give us your name and the vicinity of this.
My name is Leah Carol Anthony. And I'm sorry, what else? Is that you?
Yeah, and your, I don't want your address, because I really don't need it. I just need your location of where your home's at.
In Leonardtown.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. So, Ms. Anthony, we sent you away last time, okay, to try to work it out with the Dodgers. Okay. Can you tell us where you are with that?
Well, when I got home, I called my peer builder because, again, I paid for a service. I'm, like I told you guys, a school counselor, right? So I called him and I talked to them. We then met, so
Okay, you talk to us. You don't need to point back.
okay, so Danny and I went and we met with Ms. Clements and with
And Danny
Amber,
is whom?
the peer builder,
Okay.
who's back there. And he and I went in and we met with Ms. Clements and Amber Harding.
Harding, yes. she's
And
the-
they gave us easily an hour of time to help us understand where we were. But I called my peer builder because I wasn't aware, I wasn't aware that I should have asked him to come with me the first time. It would have been better for that because there was a lot of questions you were asking. I didn't know what the answers were. He could have given those to you from the peer building side. Because again, I only did what they told me to do as far as getting the paperwork done. And so I was following their directions.
Okay. So the directions from the board
Yes.
was for you and the Dodgers to try to work it out.
Yes.
That's the answer I'm looking for.
I went to my peer builder and he said he was going to work on it.
So you did not make any contact with the Dodges?
No.
Okay.
And I will say Mr. Dodge reached out and he said, how can I help? And I've got to tell you, if I was, in this case, we're not friends, we're not neighbors, we're not anything anymore, correct? I mean, you can see that this is a fractured relationship. I think he could have written something that would have been more specific, more professional, more clear.
Ma'am,
Yeah, I'm just
you,
saying,
excuse me.
Yeah.
You were the one that was asking for the,
yes.
okay.
So I went
so-
to, yep,
the board asked you to make that contact.
okay,
And when you went to your boat builder to send him that way, that was not the direction that the board had sent, okay? So we failed there. Okay? So someone needs to explain to this board why we need to grant you a variance, okay? I don't see it yet. I don't see any help from your side to get us through this, okay? Someone's going to lose, I can tell you,
yes,
all right? So we'll let you present your case however you like,
okay,
and we may have another option for you at the end, okay?
yep.
So whoever you'd like to call to help you with your case,
I would like to have Danny come up.
okay? And I need to get you sworn in, please. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimonies, responses, and statements you may give be the whole truth and nothing but the truth? I do. Okay. And you can pull that microphone closer to you, or either one. There's one over there as well, because we may have to ask Ms. Anthony for some other answers. But for the record, if you would give us your name and your relationship with this application.
My name is Danny Bell from Charles County. We were hired, I work for Cauliflower and Peterson Marine Construction. Marine construction business, been in business for over 50 years. I'm in charge of the operations there, and I was in charge of the pier that was built on Miss Anthony's property.
Okay.
As well as overseeing the permit process and everything else associated with the pier.
Okay. I need you to get a little closer to that mic so everything you're saying is recorded. Thank you. All right. You can keep proceeding.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to apologize for not being at the meeting. The last proceeding, I was not aware of it, and I definitely would have been present. I did watch it after it was broadcasted and saw there's a lot of information that was left out I'd like to provide to the board, which I have in the documents, and this will just very quickly go through it to see where we're at. I also have had sent a letter to the Dodges in reference to trying to resolve the issue. And I did get a response back at the deadline, I believe it was 27th of July, that they were more than willing to help us with resolution to this. However, we have not arrived at that. So
So let me ask you a question before we go any further. Is that possible?
absolutely.
So I'm going to give you an option now before you go any further, okay? If you think that's a possible, you can get a possible resolution out of this, then we may want to continue this, okay? Because if we hear this case tonight, someone's probably going to lose,
I agree.
okay? So it would be entirely up to you.
I would like to.
Mr. Scott, am I okay with this?
Yes, Mr. Chair, if you want to suggest that the parties continue to speak and work this through, then
I want to
that,
make sure the board is okay with this as well before I
yeah.
put my foot in my mouth, okay?
Hey,
If
sir,
if they can work it out together, it would be a lot better for our decisions and theirs moving forward.
May I say something first before you
Let
decide
me-
if it's pertinent?
I think you're being extremely generous, Chairman, but here's my condition on it, the continuance. We actually got to see some progress here, okay? We got to work it out.
Right.
I hate it dragging on for the Dodges and this Miss Anthony and even Danny being here.
Right.
Let's not waste anybody's time, okay?
I totally agree. I was going to give them a deadline, okay? If the board is amenable to moving forward like this, then I think Mr. Payne, you have any thoughts?
No, I wasn't quite ready for this, but
Okay.
one more shot, and then it's over.
I agree.
Yeah, I concur.
All right, Mr. Bell, you got a comment?
Yes, my last conversation with Mr. Dodges was, he was shouting at me over my phone. Mrs. Anthony has been intimidated by Mr. Dodges. I'm sure that has calmed down by now, but I think a public forum before you guys is the correct forum to have these conversations, because neither one of us want to get on a property line and be shouting across back and forth or have a disagreement. I just want to present facts that should have been presented in the first hearing, and then we can go from there, and it'll be quick.
Okay,
I
so you
apologize.
don't believe you can work it out between the two of you?
I do. However, we have some new
Because if we, I'm going to
situations.
tell you right now, if we continue with this case, we're going to continue. All right?
That's fine.
And we'll make a determination then.
That's fine.
All right.
We'd like to proceed with the information
We
that we
good?
have.
Moving on with the case.
So just make sure you on. You're not listening to him, I don't
I
think.
don't think you are either. I don't think you hear what I'm
He's
saying.
saying if you want to continue, you're going to continue, and we're going to have fruition tonight.
If you're going to continue tonight, we're going to make a determination tonight. Okay? I'm giving you an option to try to work it out.
So I think, Mr. Bell, what they're saying is they'd rather either continue it to let you guys speak, but if you want to present evidence, then that is a decision to proceed with the case.
Okay. I'd like to present evidence.
Ms. Rowe?
Well, we have the landowner back there waving his hand.
Who's the landowner? Who's the landowner?
Mr. Henderson.
Mr. Henderson.
All right, Mr. Henderson, where's he at? Let's ask him the question. Mr. Henderson, let me get you sworn in, please, and you can either sit up here or you can stand at the mic. It doesn't matter to me. Either way you would like. Just let me get you sworn in. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony, responses, and statements you will give the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Okay, so a couple questions from me to start with. You're the new landowner?
That's correct.
Okay, so you may want to have some input into their decision this evening.
I would
Okay.
like to have a little input, because this is all done prior to me taking ownership of the property, with the expectation that we could work out some type of agreement between the situation with Ms. Anthony here and thanks. And the neighbors next door. I've met the neighbors. I've had some conversations with them. Been pretty agreeable. And I understand what you're saying, that if we continue with this, you're going to make a decision tonight. And I know for a fact that there's some information that could be presented that's not quite ready yet. But I'd also like the opportunity to work with my neighbors and see if we could come with some type of agreement together versus going through this hearing and then having an agreement that either they're not satisfied with or I'm not happy with.
Okay.
So
That would have been my druthers as well, okay? That the two landowners can work it out. You're not a landowner anymore, and you don't work for this man.
No.
Correct, okay. So that's the gentleman I want to hear from.
Okay.
He's the landowner, all right? And if he's willing to take some time and work it out, I'm going to give you a deadline. We'll give you a deadline. When-
Can I ask one thing?
Just a minute,
Because
please.
Mr. Dodges is here.
Just a minute, please. Yes, sir. Mr. Hauser.
Sorry to insert myself, but just procedurally, other options before the board right now. Rather than continue this to another date certain tonight, pass it over in this moment, see if they can go out into the hallway, work things out, talk civilly, come back at the end of your docket, rather than just automatically
Okay.
make us come back another night.
okay
That's
with
one
that.
option. Another option too, and I'll just acknowledge this possibility procedurally for people to weigh as they will. Have the hearing tonight, hear the merits, then pass it, or have the hearing, make the decision tonight. And if that decision is not favorable to the applicant, if they are able to enter into an agreement afterwards in which their neighboring owner would enter a lateral line agreement that would obviate the need for any variance, the denial would effectively go away at that point. You just get to handle this administratively by processing the lateral line agreement. So that's another off-ramp in the future, but would also allow the board to still conduct its business tonight and not have to kick this out to another month. Just
Okay.
things to consider.
I'm okay with anything they would like to do, okay? So I think that the option would be up to the landowners, is that correct?
It's Mr. Henderson's
application right.
now.
So, Mr. Henderson, you heard what Mr. Hauser said. There's three options there.
Yes.
And one of them is you can either take a brief break from the docket, we'll continue with our cases, and you and the Dodgers can maybe work it out and come back and make that presentation to the board, or we can hear this thing through and then give you time later on in the month to come back. Or, and the third one was, Mr. Hauser, I'm sorry, I didn't make note.
Just if there's no desire to talk tonight or in the future, and the applicant does want to move forward, get a decision on the merits tonight, if that case were to be a denial, they wouldn't have a variance. They would still then have the option to enter a lateral line agreement with the neighboring property owner. If they do the lateral line agreement, there's no need for a variance. The case could be withdrawn before a final order is signed. Even if a final order is signed, all that's saying is that a variance is denied. You'd still have the option to handle this through a lateral line agreement afterwards.
Okay.
Can you explain that a little differently? So I understand.
So I'll try. And Mr. Henderson, there are few people in the 5 years on the job I felt for as sorry for as you, the situation you're in and what you've walked into. What you've got right now is a pier has been built on your property. St. Mary's County has what they call lateral line setbacks, extended property setbacks, that say in so many words, you cannot build a pier within 25, or a pier cannot be built on a property line within 25 feet of your neighbor's property line unless one of two things happen. Either a variance is granted by this Board of Appeals. To do that, they'd have to proceed with the hearing tonight, make a finding that each of the 6, 7 standards applicable for a general variance are satisfied, and do all that. Or enter into an agreement with your neighboring property owners, agreeing to waive the property line setbacks. Right. So if a variance goes forward tonight and there's a final decision, the board would make a decision. There would be between 30 and 60 days for the board to create a final order kind of pursuant to that decision tonight. If at any time during those 30 or 60 days or afterwards a lateral line agreement is then signed, that resolves the need for a variance. You could withdraw this application. Permit gets granted once the lateral line agreement is on record and filed. Okay. Is that makes
sense?
Okay.
So, but I think,
Sure. If I could make it even more simple than that, even if tonight does not go well, if you make the neighbors happy such that they will sign that lateral line agreement, the pier can still be kind of ratified that way. It's just at that point they have a very strong position to say under what terms or circumstances they will or will not sign a lateral line agreement.
and if I may, the problem with the third option is that if we've got a Board of Appeals order that denying the variance, then that presumes that there's going to have to be some affirmative action by the landowner to correct the nonconformance now. So I don't really see that as a practical option.
Okay.
Oh. I mean, I can tease that one out a bit. We would have to remove
Yeah,
we
I
would
think
have
that's
to
the
remove
problem.
the non-conforming thing, but I think what
Right.
I'm getting at is that if a lateral line agreement is then entered into, the pier is no longer non-conforming. And I will just say, for code enforcement upstairs, as long as people are working on things together and there is light at the end of the tunnel, we take a very soft touch when it comes to code enforcement.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that would have to be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Mr. Dodges wants to make a comment. He's the.
Yes, sir.
Let me just, do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony and response to the statement you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And your name and
My name is Kurt Dodges.
reference to the project, please. You live where?
I live 24293.
I don't need the address.
Next
no.
door.
Okay, thank you.
But first, regarding a continuance, I want to point out that this time yesterday I was in Waco, Texas. I flew back on a red eye, and as I did the first hearing. So another continuance and another hearing does not thrill me. And I will say that I am more than happy to talk with Mr. Henderson and try and work this out. But my business is with Mr. Henderson.
Right.
Honestly, I've made a lot of efforts with, honestly, at some point, I probably should have just gone over and banged on the door. But I would have tried to reconcile with Leah if I could.
Is that something we can do tonight?
No. So I will just say, we can talk about where property lines are and everything. Bottom line is, an agreement was brought to me, and because I wanted my friend to have a dock, and to gain no benefit myself, I agreed to that. What I agreed to was a 160-foot dock with a boat lift. And that has now evolved into a plan that was submitted to the MDE in the county for a 250-foot dock with an L and a boat lift. That's not what I approved. And that's where it gets difficult for me to figure out how we can move forward.
Okay. If we're going to get into testimony, we'll do that a little bit, but can you not work it out tonight?
Can I work it out tonight? I haven't talked to Mr. Henderson yet. I'd be glad to talk to him.
All right, let's set this to the end of our hearing for tonight and give them some time to, give you and Mr. Henderson some time to talk, okay? And see what we can come up with, because I really would like to make a determination one way or the other. And if you all can't work it out, then we will make a determination,
Okay.
okay? So let's continue this until we finish up with our other two hearings. And that should be probably by 8 o'clock anyway, 8:30 at the latest. Okay?
Mr. Chair, could I ask your blessings to step out and however I might be helpful, just be outside if there's a way I could assist with that?
Yes.
Thank you for the next two variances.
Yes, we should be okay, I think. Okay. All right, what you got? Okay. Good, okay. Okay. All right. Our second case this evening is a variance application request, VAAP 25-1644, Hawkins. And we got, Mr. Cheney, you're doing this one, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
The second public hearing is variance application VAAP 25-1644 Hawkins. They are requesting a variance from the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, Section 71.8.3, to disturb the 100-foot critical area buffer for a septic system. The legal ad was printed in the local newspaper, Southern Maryland News, on July 24th, 2026, and July 31st, 2026. Certified mailings were sent to adjacent property owners located within 200 feet of the project property, and a public hearing sign was posted on the property on or before July 29th. The owners of the property are Michael and Ginny Hawkins. The property consists of 59,242 square feet, according to SDAT, and currently has an existing house, driveway, and pool. The property is located at 49682 Bay Forest Road in Lexington Park. The land use is rural preservation. It's zoned rural preservation district. The critical area overlay is limited development area. The property has an existing house, driveway, and pool. The applicant is requesting a variance for a new septic system. The Critical Area Commission did respond on June 25th, 2026. The commission has stated the proposed project would not require critical area variance under state regulations. A septic system is a permissible disturbance to the buffer, but the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, Section 71.8.3.b states that septic systems are not permitted within the buffer unless a variance is obtained. This is the site plan. And this is a closer look at the site plan. The applicant is proposing a new drain field for a failing system, which requires 4,157 square feet of disturbance to the critical area buffer. There is no proposed tree removal and the installation of the new there's no proposed tree removal for the installation of the new septic system. Mitigation is at a 3-to-1 ratio for variance mitigation. The applicant will plant a total of 12,471 square feet, which is a correction to the staff report since there is no tree removal. A buffer management plan and agreement must be approved by Lugum staff prior to the issuance of a building permit. Are there any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Mr.
Can you
Chair?
repeat what you just said of the corrected number? Because I was going to have a question about the calculation.
Yes. The correct square footage for the mitigation is 12,471 square feet. Originally, it was more because it was a misunderstanding. They thought there was going to be trees cut down.
All right. Thanks. That knocks out one of my questions.
Okay, Mr. Payne.
Yes, on this, what is it? This thing that we go by. It has on there, slide, it says review type. It said Health Department on hold. What you just presented was not that. Can you explain the discrepancy?
On your staff report, the written staff report that he's referring to is that the health department was on hold? Is what you're saying, Mr. Payne?
Yes,
And on your report here, it was not.
that it was approved.
In the slideshow?
Yes. Second slide.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi, Ms. Clemens.
Since the staff report was written, the PowerPoint updated with the correct approval from the health department.
So it came in later?
Yes.
Right, okay.
Okay. I was just wondering if
Yep,
it was.
it has been approved by the health department.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I guess it's because of this is all about the wetlands. I was just wondering if it was on hold because of something other than that.
Right, no.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Payne?
Yeah, I have one. It's kind of, oh, excuse me.
Oh, well,
I'm
I
sorry.
do have one
I'm sorry,
more.
go ahead.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, I'll defer that.
Okay, go
I'll
ahead.
wait for.
Mr.
the-
Brown.
I've got a rhetorical question. Don't move. Maybe you can provide insight to me. What bothers me is this is a failed septic system.
Correct.
They basically have no alternative.
Correct.
So why is this having to come to having the applicant have to pay and come to the appeals board for such a case like this, and it can't be handled by the Lugum director?
Okay. Because it was,
Just other than the fact it's written into the law, but the logic doesn't seem to be there, is what my question was. Am I outside that logic? Is there something that I'm missing?
no, every appeal, or Board of Appeals application is processed by me through to make sure it doesn't, or that it cannot, or it can be heard by the Director of Land Use and Growth Management. If it doesn't meet the certain requirements, such as being too close to the water or too close to wetlands, Like,
Yeah, but critical area has no problem. See, that's what gets me.
I
And see, that's
understand.
what bugs me.
yeah. But other than the fact that, 71.8.3
I'm trying to look out for
specifically
these
states-
people's pocketbooks is what I'm doing,
I
okay?
understand. And that's something we can look at during our critical area zoning review update, critical area ordinance update.
Okay, I just see if
To
we
get
can
more
get
in
some
line with
background
COMA on
understanding
that
of
one.
how this evolved, okay?
Right, okay.
So just to clarify that stated in more legal terms, the CZO does not allow for an administrative variance here
Well,
in this situation.
yeah, I know, but I mean, there ought to be a deviation to what they have to pay anyway, okay?
Yeah, and
This
the
idea of
ordinance-
having to pay you straight up
yeah.
500,
And as Ms. Clements says, maybe that's something the county should look at next time they look at their critical area regulations and/or the CZO provisions. Yeah.
Is there certain times you'll do that, Ms. Clements? You look at these?
We're getting close to and starting to work on a new critical area.
So maybe we can
ordinance
make a
update.
note on that one. And take a look
I
at it.
definitely will.
Okay.
Yep.
but they'll still have to pay now, right?
Right. You're helping everyone in the future, John. Okay?
I'm helping your neighbors out.
Right. Okay. Anybody else have any questions of staff? Hearing none, let's, the Hawkins? Well, let me get you sworn in, please. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony's responses and statements you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth? And your name, please. Okay, at this residence, right? At the residence listed, okay. Are you speaking tonight too, sir? Let me get you sworn in. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony's responses and statements you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Okay, have a seat. And give us your name and,
David Wozniak, and here to help represent the homeowner.
okay. And are you with a firm?
Yes, I'm a landscape architect at Kimmel Studio in Annapolis.
Okay. Okay. So you need a new septic system, okay? And you can understand the concerns here already.
I appreciate that.
We just need a quick brief of why you need this variance.
Yeah, when all this kind of came about and we were looking for various options with the failed septic system, talked about moving and buying some more land, and this land has been in my wife's family for over 100 years. Her grandmother grew up there, and her dad built the house, and I'm learning to appreciate it more these days with my kids running around playing, but we don't have a system that's working. And we hired Kimmel to help us with that, and my understanding is there was no other place to put it except this area, and it creeps into that critical buffer zone. Learning a lot, educating myself, but that's kind of where we are in this process. I appreciate the questions asked, because we have a lot of the same questions as well, so much appreciated, so thank you.
Yes. Do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of explained it well enough, but with the existing conditions on the site, this is really the only location for a replacement system to this failed system. Otherwise, the only other option is a holding tank, which incurs all the costs of having to do that. So we worked with a civil engineer to design the system, and it is classified as an innovative system, and we're laid it out as close to we could to the existing compacted areas, the driveway, the sheds, the pool, the house, and we're left with about half of the system in the critical area.
Okay. I don't have it. What was your name again, sir?
David Wozniak.
Can you spell that last for me?
Yes, Warzyak.
Anyone have any questions for the applicant?
When is it a failing system or is it a failed system? In other words, are you living or you have to move out of there temporarily?
We're living, it's a failing system. I think they classified it as failed. I'm not sure how the health department.
Yeah, the health
I'm
department.
just asking the state emergency on
We're-
this thing, okay?
Well, what I was told, it's been like this for a while when we got it checked out. And so I don't know whether we have weeks, months, or years, but
Or yesterday?
What has been.
But you're still able to live at the house.
we're there
right
now, yeah.
Okay.
The Tasha from the health department noted on a site visit that saw sewage or effluent above the surface. So the system is not draining the way it should be. So it is technically a failed system.
Okay.
It's still,
Okay.
they can still live there, but it's a failed system that needs to be replaced.
We see toilet paper sometimes come up out of the ground, so, yeah,
Oh, that's not good.
no.
No.
Not good at all.
Anybody else have any questions?
I just got one.
sir.
Mr. Hawkins, I noticed that you were adding a well.
So it is the current well that's existing on the site.
Was that the one,
is where the proposed system.
well, where is it on this map? This diagram?
Mr. Cheney,
I
can you show
couldn't,
us,
I couldn't find it.
please?
I saw one
Does it say right here?
up in the upper left-hand corner, but I was just, couldn't figure what was
We
going
look at
on.
the rectangle that's heading this direction, and there's an existing driveway. Yep, right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's the current existing well.
And it's too close
Due
to the
to
system.
Yeah, due to setbacks,
Yes.
it's too close to the system. So the proposal is to abandon that well and drill a new well.
New septic,
where
new
it
well? Look at you.
Okay,
I'm not making small of it, I'm just saying it's, gosh darn, all at one time.
yeah, it's just the way that it was laid out there. TBA, generally, they put on a TBR, to be removed, and then,
Right.
and that would make more sense, and,
It's
To
to
be
be
abandoned.
abandoned.
Right.
okay,
So,
okay.
Anyone else have any questions of the applicants?
Thank you.
I'm just going to ask you this for the record. So, did you exhaust every opportunity to repair before determining that you need to replace the whole system?
Yeah, this has been going on for 2 years now, and we looked at every option with the help of them, yeah.
Okay. And what happens if you don't get this approved?
that's the next option is a holding tank. That's what we've been told is if this does not get approved to go into the critical area, it would be a holding tank which we could place outside of the critical area. But this septic system has been approved by the health department and MDE as well.
All right, thanks. That's all I got.
And critical area had comments too, didn't it? Or did not have comments on this? There was no comments from critical area. So they kind of say it's allowable. Okay. Okay. Anyone else have any comments? All right. Anything else you'd like to say? Anything else you'd like to?
Oh, no, sir.
Okay. So let's move on to, anyone, open a public hearing. Anyone wishing to testify in this case this evening? We did not have any written testimony, is that correct? Comments? That I saw, I didn't see any, okay. Seeing none, we'll close the hearing to verbal and written comments and board discussion.
Yeah, I've got no issues with that.
Yeah, I don't either.
How can you say no?
Right.
It's up to your eyeballs already, right?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, we did have one public thing from Miss Tammy Hall.
Did we? Did I not see that?
Miss Sherry Young sent that to us. It was in favor of it,
It didn't get put on public documents, though.
of Michael and Dr. Jenny Hawkins.
Hawkins, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
No, I'm with Mr. Brown. I can't even believe we're here talking
Yeah,
about this.
me either. So,
You
but
don't
that's
want
okay.
septic in the bay in the water. I mean,
No.
what are we doing? You know what I mean?
Right. So it's not healthy right now. So I'm open for a motion, please.
You want to read?
I'll
Let me read it.
do it. Okay, I'll do it. In the matter of BAP 25-1644, the Hawkins property, having made a finding that the standards for granting a variance and the objectives of section 24.4 of the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance have been met, I move to approve the variance request from section 71.8.3 to disturb the expanded 100-foot critical area buffer for septic system.
Have a motion,
Second.
and we'll start with Mr. LaRocco.
Aye.
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 Aye. So, Mr. Hawkins, you can see the board has voted unanimously to support your request this evening. A order reflecting the board's decision will be prepared by staff and signed by the board within 60 days. A 30-day period follows from the date the order is signed, in which any aggrieved party may appeal the board's decision in circuit court, and the recording secretary will email you a copy of the order once it's been signed. Okay?
Thank you.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, by the way, Mr. Hawkins, whenever they have a public comment on any revised CZO, maybe you might want to come out and make a comment.
Okay. Appreciate that.
All right, our third case tonight, Mr. Cheney, you doing that one as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's a variance request application, VAAP 26-0509. It's Smith and Rent.
Good. The third public hearing is variance application VAAP 26-0509, Schmidt and Rent. They're requesting a variance from the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, Section 71.8.3, to disturb the 100-foot critical area buffer for a screen porch, deck, pool, and stairs, as well as conditional use approval according to Section 52.3.3.e to expand an existing non-conforming structure more than 25%. The legal ad was printed in the local newspaper, Southern Maryland News, on July 24th, 2026, and July 31st, 2026. Certified mailings were sent to adjacent property owners located within 200 feet of the project property, and a public hearing sign was posted on the property on or before July 29th, 2026. The owners of the property are William Schmidt and Tricia Rent. The property consists of 37,026 square feet, according to SDAT, and currently has an existing house, driveway, and garage. The property is located at 45106 Lighthouse Road in Piney Point. Its land use is residential medium density and tidal wetlands. It's zoned residential low density in the low density district. The critical area overlays are intensely developed area and resource conservation area. The property has an existing house, driveway, and garage. The applicant is requesting a variance for a screen porch, deck, pool, and stairs, as well as a conditional use approval to expand an existing non-conforming structure more than 25%. The Critical Area Commission responded on July 1st, 2026. They stated, based on the information provided, the applicant has not met each and every variance standard for the proposed pool. Therefore, the request for the pool must be denied. A non-conforming structure, which is the garage in this case, may be expanded to Section 52.3.3 of the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance if the following conditions are met. The garage was in existence prior to 1993 per aerial GIS imagery. It does not impact parking requirements and will require to obtain a permit within 1 year of the Board of Appeals approval, or the approval will lapse. Since the proposal is a 49.3% expansion, it cannot be heard by the Director of Land Use and Growth Management, but instead can be approved by the Board of Appeals using the conditional use standards. The garage complies with the requirements of chapters 31 and 52, except for the required side yard setback. Because it does not meet the requirements, the garage is considered a non-conforming structure and requires to meet the conditional use standards prior to before the Board of Approval. That was a lot. That was a lot. Do you need me to go over any of that again?
We may. We may.
Okay.
Go to the
All right. This is the site plan. This is a closer look of the site plan. The applicant's proposing a 12 by 18 pool along with a deck and steps surrounding the pool. They're proposing a 10 by 28 screen porch and a second floor to the existing 24 by 22 garage. Mitigation is at a 3-to-1 ratio totaling 2,853 square feet for permanent disturbance. A buffer management plan and agreement must be approved by Lugum staff prior to the issuance of a building permit. Are there any questions?
Anyone
I've
have
got a
any
couple.
questions, Mr. Cheney?
Yeah.
I do too.
Okay, so it seems like a lot going on in one request, right? So I guess this may be for you, sir. Like if the way I'm looking at this, and I had to read through this today, because we want to do our due diligence, right? But there's a pool and a deck, there's a porch and stairs, and then there's the garage, right? So those are three separate things. What if we're in a predicament where, do we have the ability to kind of divest one or the other?
Yeah, I think there's really two basic cases. We got a variance case and a conditional
Right.
use
Right.
applicable to the non-conforming use. And I think we probably should kind of separate those and discuss those one at a time.
Yeah, that's kind of where my head
It
was
makes
at.
the most sense. Chair, Mr. Chair, that's really up to you.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I went through this today, and it's a handful. Okay.
And
Yes.
I think,
And there's an issue here too that I saw when I looked at it. They're all three connected, and if you get rid of one and not the other, then you have a gap,
Yep.
and then you have a fire issue.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
A fire rating issue.
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
with these gaps. So
And just to clarify, the garage does meet the requirements of a non-conforming use. It is a legal non-conforming use, as we would say.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Clements and
Right.
AJ are
right.
stating in the affirmative. Okay. Okay.
So yes, I think thank you, because I was going to ask the same question,
Yeah.
basically. I think we treat the two separate, but we'll do it.
Separate but related.
But
Yeah,
related.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yes. Anybody else have any questions?
Yep. The other question I had was the math. Help me out with the math. So we've got 24 by 22 and then 22 by 24, which is, I believe, Detroit Public Schools here, equals the same thing, right? So how do we get 49.3?
49.
I think that should be a question for the applicant.
Yeah.
Let's hold that question for the applicant.
Okay.
These folks are just presenting what's been brought to them, okay?
I mean, I would have
I
thought,
would have thought they would,
if I'm screening something,
Right.
I probably would have asked that question before coming to the board.
and maybe,
Yeah.
Mr. Chain or Ms. Clemens, if you don't want to answer, you're more than welcome
Yeah.
to, but I was going to kind of hold it for the
Yeah,
applicant.
right.
I can wait.
Okay.
But if
Okay.
you got an answer, go for it. But
Okay. It's a convoluted answer. Okay. I spoke with Amber Harding, our permits manager, building code official, and she stated that, that the existing, here, I'm going to switch here so I can look at the site plan. Okay, so the existing 24 by 22 garage, what she did was she took the footprint of that, and then she took the footprint of the existing house, and since it's all connected with this proposal, it all becomes non-conforming, and then that way it becomes 49% instead of 50.
Okay.
You asked. Look, I'm just.
Yeah. Do we have anything like in writing in our records that show how that happened?
No, I do not. I could not find anything.
Yeah.
I've got something from the permits manager that just states the request and the need for the variance.
So if the
That it's
question was
49.
asked, I mean, let's just hypothetically say the variances get denied, conditional use gets approved. Does it go from 49 to 50 then? Because it's a full size,
Yes,
so
Yeah.
then they're over.
yes.
Okay. So
Yeah, I was mulling that over today, trying to like. 'cause-
Right.
So it'll go over 50.
So, and that's why I
And
said
then-
earlier about the connection
Yeah.
of all of these requests. Everything's connected and ties everything to one.
Yeah.
So if you leave out one piece of that, then you have another issue. Okay?
And I've got a separate question, I guess, is what is the existing lot coverage? What's the proposed lot coverage? And what's the allowed lot coverage? Because it seems like we're putting a lot of stuff on this little piece of property.
So it's in the intensely developed area, so there's no lot coverage limit in the IDA. But you want to know what's existing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. 5,113 square feet of impervious surface is on the lot.
5,000 what is the existing, you're saying?
Yes,
5,000 what?
113.
And the proposed?
That will be the total. Existing's 4,162 square feet. And with everything proposed, that'll put it at 5,113.
And there is no
Percentage.
lot coverage percentage for this piece of property?
Correct. There's no lot coverage limit.
So they could cover the entire piece of parcel.
Never heard this one.
Me too. Me too. But that's okay. That's okay.
No, in the IDA, when you add new lot coverage, the lot coverage either has to be mitigated at 3 trees?
Oh, in the IDA?
Yes.
It's 1 tree or 3 shrubs per 100 square feet added.
Yes. Or you have to meet the 10% rule of phosphorus reduction for stormwater management. So, but since this is a variance case for buffer disturbance, they will more than exceed the 1 tree or 3 shrubs for every 100 square feet. It'll be 3 to 1
And that's on site?
on site.
It has to be on site.
It on site, and if it doesn't fit on site, then it's adjacent, and then if it can't fit on adjacent, then we can go to the fees in lieu. But
Okay.
we do have a buffer mitigation plan for this project.
And is it available?
AJ, do we have it in the? It might be available in E-Track-It. He's going to look it up through
Okay.
the county GIS map.
Mr. Payne has a question.
Yeah. One question I had written down was this IDA. Could you speak to that for a moment?
Yeah, it's the area within the critical area where if there is going to be growth, that's where we concentrate the growth within the critical area. We have the limited development area and also the resource conservation area. The majority of the county within like the RPD would be, resource conservation. Neighborhoods tend to be LDA, and IDA tends to be town centers like Piney Point, and I believe that's the only one that.
Yeah, because we had, how about Hollywood Shores? Is that similar to that as well?
Pardon?
Hollywood Shores has lots similar to this.
It does, and I believe that's I think that's LDA.
Okay.
If I can remember. We've got mapping that was approved back in 2021
Okay.
that is approved in the
But-
Critical Area Commission.
But I do see that things are different, like no lot coverage.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Any other questions
You
for?
want to show them the buffer
Yes.
mitigation
Okay,
plan?
yes. Let's take a look at this.
So this is so I do want you guys to understand what's going on. So I'm going to bring up the GIS map.
Okay.
So you can look at the property. So this is the property right here. The pool and everything, they're going to fill this back area right here. So what he's proposing is to fill in this back area along the wetlands right here. So that's what these 4 clusters are.
Okay. You'll see that?
Yep, see, for this mitigation, there's 2,853 square feet required. They're going to plant 1,200 square feet, and they're going to do a fee in lieu for 1,653 square feet at a rate of $1.50 per square foot, and that'll go into our fee in lieu fund. And that would be in the amount of $2,479.50.
So that fund, does that get planted elsewhere in the critical areas?
Actually, yes. Yes, the county's actually currently proposing an agreement with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation to help with the grants, giving critical area grants to do plantings in the critical area to
Okay.
help us.
So it's gonna benefit
Yes.
the critical area itself?
Yes, it's specifically
Okay.
for
It's not going
critical
someplace
area.
else and
No, it's specifically.
being disposed of somewhere.
Right.
Okay. That helps. A little bit. All right. Anyone else have any questions of staff? All right. Thank both of you. We may be calling back again. So, Mr. Smith, and
I do have one question. You mentioned that in the write-ups, you're talking about the side yard setbacks.
Yes, sir.
Could you explain the issue there?
The side yard setback?
Yeah, you
Okay.
said that there's a question about this. In your write-up, it's talking about there's an exception.
Right.
And the question was
Gotcha.
side yard setbacks.
Yes, you see the existing garage? We're in the residential low zoning district, and that requires a 10-foot side yard setback. And since that garage is existing prior to the implementation of our current zoning, this now becomes non-conforming. There is a footnote that accessory structures can be, or, sheds, garages can be 5 feet, but this one is only 2 feet off the side yard. So that's what creates that non-conforming structure, which then kicks in the conditional use variance or conditional use requirements to add that second story to this.
No, I just wanted some clarification because it was mentioned but not
Mm-hmm.
elaborated on in the staff report.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? So let's get the applicant up, Mr. Smith and Ms. Rent. And get you both sworn in at one time. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony's response and statements you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
Thank you. Have a seat, and then we'll get your name and location, living location.
My name is Floyd Graham.
What's the last name again?
Graham.
Okay.
I'm from Great Mills, Maryland. I'm a co-owner of F&C Builders.
S&C?
F&C.
F&C. And you, sir?
William Schmidt.
Okay. Who would like to start?
I can go ahead and start. Now, do we address the garage first or the?
Well, which one would you like to address first?
Well, I think we
We
ought
would
to
like to address one at a time, though.
I understand that, and they are tied together.
Yes.
So I guess we'll start with the garage first.
Okay.
Which is fairly simple because we just want to add a second story to the garage to create an exercise room and more storage because the existing house is fairly small. It's just a standard 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Nothing special. And you need more room. It's pretty simple. But I need to make a comment first. I don't know which one of y'all said that. Somebody said it looked like we're doing a whole lot on this lot. And we are not doing a whole lot on this lot. This is a very small project. You kind of need to understand, it looks like you're filling the whole lot up. This lot's only 75 foot wide. There's no room here. This screen, I'm getting away from the garage again, so it makes it kind of hard because they're all tied together. So we'll stick with the garage still. I'm sorry for getting off base.
Okay. So do you have a floor plan of the garage?
It was submitted with the permit. I do not have it. I do not have it now. Okay, maybe we have something here. Whatever you just had right there, Andrew,
That's the outside, isn't it?
yeah, it's the
I don't see
outside,
any.
so no, I mean, you almost don't need a floor plan because the upstairs is just gonna be one room with a bathroom in the corner. I mean,
So it could be a living space.
it's not gonna be a living
I
space.
didn't.
Their
With the
desire.
restroom into it, it could be a living space.
Yeah.
I guess it could be if somebody wanted to be,
Yeah. Okay.
which is actually allowed, as far as I know.
Understood. I'm just, but I like to keep everything
That's fine.
transparent.
Their intentions are definitely not living space. Their intentions are your
It's,
exercise.
it is what it is.
Okay.
And if it's got a restroom, it could be added to living space, considered a living space. Okay.
True. Hey, look at
There
that.
it is. Yep.
There we go. On this project, we need to access this upstairs, so we had to create a set of steps to it, which just starts going on and tying into the rest of the project. That's why it's all together. Are you wanting to approve one at a time, or just me present my case?
We're going to listen to the case one at a time. The approval will come at the end,
Okay,
or denial, one or the other.
I get that. That's,
Anyone have any questions on this second story at this point?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Payne.
I couldn't understand what was going on earlier. Has this, you take 22 by 24, like he said, and you multiply it, and then you go 1.5. Okay? And that's the square footage. Well, they come up with 49.3, which is, we're talking about a 2-by-2
Now, the
square foot.
49.3 is
Yes.
the percentage of
Everything.
total coverage that they're allowed, anything above 50%. Ms. Clemens, you could probably, or Mr. Cheney, you could probably explain it better than I can. But I think in this application, they allowed 50%. Okay, but when all this is built, it's all tied together. And my understanding from Ms. Clemens that she said earlier, it makes it all non-conforming, once it ties to the garage. These steps tied to the deck, that ties to the pool, that ties to the house, that ties to the porch. Okay, so if it was just the garage, they would be way over. And they would be meeting that threshold that they couldn't do it. But when they tie it all together as one, my understanding is that, and then it makes it all non-conforming. And the percentage then goes down from the 50%. Did I explain that correctly? Yes. Okay.
Okay.
So yes, it's terribly confusing, this case is.
Yes.
And that's why I asked, like, what ordinance or
Well,
something in writing that
it's-
supports
I've
that?
been trying to figure
You
it
know,
out myself.
it caught my eye earlier today, and I still don't get it. But
It is, I think, doing, with the CZOs, you have to take 6 different pages and put them together.
Yeah.
Okay, and try to figure it out, okay? Because it's not all on one, it's not all on one standard there. It's not all one section, okay? We have like 5 sections we're looking at tonight to make this thing happen, or make it not happen, one or the other. And according to Ms. Clemens, I think she explained it pretty good earlier, that once you tie all these together and you tie it to the non-conforming structure, it makes it all non-conforming. Okay. And that's where you come
Okay.
up, and that's where you come up with your numbers. Is that correct? Okay. Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Payne, at this time? Anyone else have any at this time? All right, continue.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes,
while
yes,
we're
sir.
on the garage, I just want to point out for the record that there is an analysis in the staff report of the conditional use standards.
Right.
And hopefully everybody had a chance to review that. And obviously that's a part of the record here.
Right.
And pretty straightforward. I don't see that there's any issue there unless anybody on the board had a question. Okay.
And everybody's okay on those? Okay. Okay.
So we moving on to the other part of the project?
Well, if you finish with the garage,
Yes.
okay.
Andrew, are you able to show the very first slide you showed, presented? Like,
Give me 1 second. This one?
no, is this my presentation?
It is.
No, your presentation.
Of mine?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry. Just before we go too far, I need to make sure something's correct here. Right there. Why is that variance number different than what I have? That cause any problems right now?
No, not from our point of view. That's not an issue. The case was properly noticed and properly called, so there's a, just let the record reflect that a clerical error was corrected here at the hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you could go on to my presentation, I appreciate it. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
I just don't want to go through all this and. So you can see that we're here for two variances, which Andrew's already spelled out, so I don't really see any reason to hit that. You can skip the next page if you want.
Did it move? Give me 1 second. It froze on me. There we go.
You can skip another one. Or y'all have already seen the site plan, might as well skip another one.
Why don't we take a good look at that site plan?
Okay,
because
sure.
This is, I mean, it's kind of hand-drawn, and it doesn't look like to me, when I went through it, that I don't think the scale's correct.
I can't hear you, honestly.
Huh?
I cannot hear you.
I say, I don't think the scale is correct from the drawings that we have seen.
Okay.
Okay.
Scale is 1 inch equals 30 foot, so it makes this, this is shrunk on the screen.
Well, I got the standard screen right here, and I'm looking at the 26 for the grinder pump, the 26-foot, you're over 3.5 spaces. One of those spaces should be, I don't, it should be an equal amount of 1 inch equals 30. One space should be 10 feet, if I read it correctly. And it's not. And it's like that in a couple of other areas too that I looked at. So I'm kind of not liking that drawing at all. But go ahead. I don't think it's to scale, and I just want to make sure that what we see tonight is completely transparent.
That's fine.
Okay?
I actually have 2 scale drawings with me. It is shrunk when it hits the screen, and I understand, I agree with you, it looks different, without a doubt.
Okay.
The numbers, they should be to scale. Let me go ahead and let you know what I have written up.
Okay,
And then
go ahead.
we can hit some of this other stuff. This property is 37,026 square foot. There is approximately only 5,600 square foot that is out of the buffer. It's only 15% of this entire property that is not in a buffer. The clients are requesting a variance so they may have a very modestly sized screen porch and a small pool with a deck beside it. The screen porch is somewhat of a necessity in this area, to be able to spend time outside without getting carried away from all the insects. This pool is a small modular pool, 12 foot by 18 foot. The purpose is intended mostly for physical therapy and exercise. Yeah, pardon me for a second, I gotta skip the garage part. Now, the Critical Area Commission, I know you know, they have some bad comments about this, especially the pool. They don't approve of the pool when it's stated that we have not shown an unwarranted hardship and that the property retains reasonable and significant use. You know, we are only requesting to utilize simply 1.5% of this property for this pool and this deck. This pool is more or less a lap pool, so I don't want y'all to get the wrong idea. This is not some great big in-ground pool. It's an above-ground modular pool. Okay, it's for physical therapy, exercise, that's it. Both the owners are retired Marines with disability rating. Exercise and physical therapy is a necessity to them. This pool is not to be considered just a convenience to them, and I'm saying this in regards with critical area comments. Critical Area Commission comments, I'm sorry. The Critical Area Commission seems to presume that since this is waterfront property, that a pool is not needed. Potomac might be great for fishing, boating, and dipping your feet in between the sea nettles, but not ideal for what my clients want it for. The Critical Area Commission also states that this variance would confer a special privilege to my clients, which we don't agree with. 7 of the neighboring properties each have some sort of structure, pool, garage, all within this same buffer that my clients have to deal with. So they will not be getting special anything. They're just wanting to do the same thing their neighbors did. The Critical Area Commission is also concerned with the impact on the environment, which we understand that. The intent of the critical area law is to minimize adverse impacts to water quality and habitat by directing development away from sensitive shorelines. This proposed project is as far away as possible we can put it. The pool is a small modular pool, sits on top of the ground. The soil disturbance for the pool, the screen porch, and the deck is very minimal. These are just pier holes. This is not a big project. It might look like it on the site plan, but we're very restricted. We have a well that we have to stay 15 foot away from. The back of the house touches the buffer. There is no room on either side. The front of the house touches the front building restriction line. This is just, there's no other place to do this. And we are not asking for a huge porch, nothing here is big. It's just basic what is needed. Then this does tie into stairs leading up to the second floor of the garage, which we will no longer need if we don't have a variance for the second floor of the garage. So that's where everything gets tied together. And that's what's caused all the issue with the non-conforming garage, where the stairs connecting together. If the well wasn't there and we had more room to move away from it, we would. But this is tight. We've had to measure this 20 times to make sure all this actually works. The health department themselves came out to make sure there was enough room. If we could look at, not this slide, Andrew, but maybe the next one. There we go. This slide here shows the buffer. It shows my client's house labeled as 45106. You can see the buffer touches their house, actually goes into their house a little bit. And you'll see that every neighbor, both sides of them, in fact, the neighbor right beside them has a huge pool, huge deck, big garage, sitting much farther back in the buffer. To the other side, we have half a house, a building. Oh, and we have another garage, all kinds of stuff back in this buffer. Critical Area Commission is stating that we would be getting special privilege. We aren't. We're just trying to share the same privileges everybody else has. That's all I have for that right now.
Anyone have any questions?
I do. So we see that a lot, right, where a property was built before the standards were put in place and things are grandfathered in, right? So my question is for Mr. Scott, right? So this House bill got sent out to us today. I read through it. One of the things that is explicitly called out is one of the case references excluding grandfathered in properties from use as a comparable and making a determination. So my question is, with regard to our authority, may we use that in our consideration here tonight in either voting to approve or deny the variance?
So are you referring to neighboring properties that may
Yes.
be grandfathered?
Yes. Because I understand what he's saying. I mean, it makes sense, but we don't write the laws, right? So I got to make sure that.
Yeah, correct. We have traditionally looked at properties in the surrounding neighborhood. The new bill that was adopted in Annapolis seems to suggest that we should not do that.
Right.
Now, obviously, that bill is brand new. There's been no interpretation, no case law, no pronouncements by any courts as to exactly what the intent of the legislature was when they adopted that bill. But if you look at the plain black and white meaning of it, I would suggest that you're correct, that we're not supposed to look at those non-conforming structures that are legal non-conforming, and that is were adopted before the critical area laws.
Yeah. Okay. That answers my question.
Yeah.
But you're suggesting that the envelope could be pushed.
Well,
Because
this,
it's brand new.
Yeah.
look, I mean, and, you know, I know we're on the record, this board has a sort of a more land use oriented view on things on occasion. The weight and the effectiveness of the testimony and or documentation that is presented to you is up to you for interpretation, and also the implementation of the critical areas laws as they relate to the St. Mary's County's comprehensive zoning ordinance. That's for you to interpret as well. I think I may have just done a lot of lawyer speak there, but yeah, it's.
Yeah. And so,
You met yourself
yeah.
coming around.
I volleyed it back to you
Yeah.
guys.
And
Yes.
so for you gentlemen, I sir, thank you for your service. Totally understand where you guys are coming from, right? Basically, there's law getting passed that says, hey, just because somebody else did it doesn't mean you can do it, kind of thing. And I'm trying to just toe the line here and be able to make a determination that's both legal and of benefit to how this needs to roll out. So that's why I was asking that question.
Well, and at the same time, the standards for a critical area variance do speak a lot about what's going on and what's been done on neighboring properties.
Yeah.
Depriving the applicant of privileges that may be shared by others within the neighborhood or the community.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I mentioned that, there's been no reconciliation of that new ordinance by any of the courts in Maryland yet, because it's that new. So again, I mean, you've pointed out the sort of the inconsistency that exists.
I don't want to help or hurt what I'm saying here, but the case that was referenced was 2007.
Mm-hmm.
So are we within our bounds to operate under the precedents that we're all become accustomed to sitting here at this board?
So you're ultimately going to need to make the decision based on your best interpretation of the law and your best interpretation of the facts that are presented to you.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm asking a lawyer.
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of times the responses that we get from, especially the critical area,
Yep.
they do not have the opportunity to hear facts stated in front of us tonight. What they normally see is a drawing and the wording from the applicant that how they think they meet the standards. Am I correct, Ms. Clements? Okay, is that right, Mr. Cheney?
They do. They receive the standards letter to see what they're talking about and everything like that.
Okay. But to hear them firsthand, they don't get that. They just hear they just see what's written to them and the application.
Correct. Yeah, just the
So
file.
that's all they
I'm
see.
tracking.
Well, and we also know there's an inherent inconsistency between the Critical Areas Commission's view of a swimming pool and St. Mary's County's approach to swimming pools.
Right. So and I don't think I should speak for the critical area, but when they see the swimming pool, they just see a hole with water.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm tracking.
And their critical area is what
Yeah.
they see.
Yep.
Okay. They don't see sometimes why that pool is needed, like we do here, and that's what our position is, to hear those kind of things, and which they don't get to hear or see in any type of application. Is that
Correct.
fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
And along those lines, did I hear you relate to the pool being used for physical therapy?
Yes, my wife and I are both retired Marines, and we both have a 100% VA disability rating. My wife's only 54 years old. She already has 2 new hips and a new knee, and she's scheduled to get her second knee done next year. So,
Well, she's a new woman almost.
Yeah.
Careful.
so our doctors have advised us that we should be using the pool. So that's our primary use for the pool would be exercise, physical therapy.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, that
You
to
said
me
what
is
I
a
was going to
very
ask.
Key
Okay.
reason why you need this pool.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not to sunbathe.
No, well, although there might be some of that going on, but
Me.
That's not the primary.
And, what I'd like to say, though, is, you come up here, not you, people come up here and, yeah, well, this hurts, that hurts, blah, blah, blah. It'd be nice to see something from a medical officer
Well, I have
stating such.
the VA
or-
paperwork with me.
Okay.
We can,
You should submit that for the record.
For the
Correct.
record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would help us a lot.
That would help a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I asked the question. Let him do it.
It's,
Does that have medical information on it?
I don't,
Let me
yeah,
take
we
a
want
look at
to
that.
make sure we don't have HIPAA stuff, but
Yeah.
if you could point to something, not necessary, but if there's a note in there where, hey, it was suggested by a physician or something that, you get a pool, that's helpful.
yeah.
That's even more
I have
helpful.
not done that at this time, but I could have it probably within a week or so.
Mr. Chair, I'd rather the applicant testify from this as
Okay.
opposed to this piece of paper being in our public record.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Okay.
If
So
you would,
let's
please,
do
sir, if
that.
you would, I'm going to give this back to you, and if you would just kind of summarize in testimony what this says. Okay.
Because it's probably got some stuff that we don't need to put in the record.
Hey, you don't necessarily have to go over every medical condition. You can read the summaries in the paragraph that does your rating. If there's something sensitive in there for you or your wife or your Miss Rent that you don't want the public to hear.
I'm sorry, sir, I can't.
He can't.
Part of my disability is
You
hearing
don't-
loss from being on a flight line.
You don't have to list everything medically wrong with both of you if you don't want the public to hear it.
Okay.
You could do the general, because I have the same letter of what
Yep.
the highlights are. Copy.
Okay. So basically, all this is that says that my wife was awarded 100% disabled by the VA on December 1st, 2025, and I was awarded 100% VA disability on March 1st, 2024.
Okay. Is that what you're speaking about, Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, like for mine, it has like hip, knee.
Right.
And some people have
Well, he
depression.
just said she had a couple of hips in her knee.
Yeah, so you don't have to go in depth
Right.
like that.
I'm good. I think
And sir, just to take that one step further for the record, your physician, I assume, has recommended that exercise in a swimming pool would help those conditions or would provide some relief or comfort or help with your physical fitness in light of those conditions, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Good. That's good enough for our record, I think. Don't you think, Mr. Scott? I think we're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. Okay, good. Anyone else have any questions at this time? Anything else you'd like to present?
The only comment I have is what led to the deck was the pool, because the pool is modular, it sits up.
You've got to be able to get in.
And this pool is just like the deck's like just L-shaped around it, just for access to it.
And that's going to come right off the porch that you're putting in?
Correct.
You don't need steps for the, you're going to put steps
It
on
will
the
all
deck
be,
as well?
it will all be the same level. The porch and the deck will be all the same level as the top of the pool, and then we'll have one set of steps coming off of it to reach the ground.
Gotcha. And I see two sets of steps on the garage side. Is that where it's
Well, one
coming
of the
down and
set-
turning?
Well, one of the sets of steps goes up to the second floor of the garage.
Yeah. The other set goes down to the ground?
Correct.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, let's open up public testimony. Anybody wishing to testify in this case this evening? We don't have any written comments on this one, do we? I don't think. I don't see any. I didn't see any that was posted, so.
And
Seeing
again,
none.
let's note for the record that the staff report analyzed the critical area standards. And just want to make sure that the board members have looked at that. If you've read the staff report, you've seen
Yes, yes.
the analysis of the standards.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank
I
you.
have. We all have, I think.
Thank
And
you.
I also like, for the record too, is that Mr. Smith has introduced into evidence the results from the VA analysis
Yes.
of their
Disability.
disabilities.
Yep.
That
Yes,
the
correct.
request this evening
Yes.
will reflect that as well. Is that good?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. Seeing no comments, seeing no one wishing to testify, we will close the hearing for all verbal and written testimony and move on to board discussion. Who'd like to start the discussion?
I don't think I have an issue with it based on testimony. I answered most of my questions.
A couple months ago, we had a same sort of case as Marine. They put a pool offside their house,
Go ahead.
and it was in few feet in a critical area buffer. The VA is a federal entity, and and it's hard to get that 100%. I'm telling you. So I'm good with it.
One question. The reason you're putting the upstairs in is for your weight room, I mean, for your room so you can exercise and stuff in? Is one of the reasons?
I think the plan is to have our exercise equipment up in that second story,
Okay.
and that's where we're
So
going to
that-
be working out.
Support your PT.
That supports the PT, so, as well. I'm good.
Yeah, because it's going to get cold. They can't use the pool.
Right.
They got to go somewhere else to stretch
Okay.
and exercise.
Are you capable of going up the steps?
I am now, hopefully for a long time.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's one thing I have problems with.
Yeah,
But
I try to keep as active as I can because I've got replacement parts too, so we won't get into it
yeah,
apparently.
right,
But,
right. Yeah, so do I. So I
Yeah.
understand
I think
what
most
you're
of us do.
saying.
but as of now, we both can do stairs.
All right.
so.
Okay. So if not, then later on, they got room in the garage, they can put a swift elevator kind of thing in there, those small ones they have now.
Right.
That could be an option too, so. Okay. Anybody else have any comments? I don't have any comments either, other than it's a shame he's got to do this because of his disabilities, but it is what it is, and I think, and again, thank you for your service. But I think the board should support the request this evening on both the variance and the conditional use, is my opinion. Mr. Payne, you got any comments?
No.
Okay. I'm
Mr.
over-
Chair, you
Yes.
want to do a separate motion
I
on
do.
each?
I
Okay,
do.
thank
yeah.
you.
So we have that, who would like to make the motion?
I can motion, but
Okay, we'd like to do them separately if we could, the variance and the the conditional use.
all right. In the matter of VAAP 26-0509, the Schmidt and Rent property, having made a finding that the standards for granting a variance and the objectives of Section 71.8.8 of the St. Mary's Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance to disturb the critical area buffer for a screened porch, deck, pool, and stairs.
Yes,
Stop there.
yes.
Have been met.
To be approved.
Yeah, okay. All right, sorry.
Have
yeah.
been met.
Have been met.
Yep, yep,
Right.
yep.
I move to approve.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. I'll second. And all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now start again. and
All
then
right.
Do the conditional use.
Try it again.
Okay.
All right. In the matter of VAAP 26-0509, the Schmidt and Rent property, having made a finding that the standards for granting a variance and the objectives of Section 71.8 are
Granting the conditional use.
Oh, yeah, granted a conditional use for a screened porch, deck, pool, and stairs have been met.
No, it's for the non-conforming structure above, not the screen porch. No, we've already done that.
All right.
For
In
the
accordance,
existing-
in accordance with Section 52.3.3.e to expand an existing non-conforming structure more than 25%, I move to approve.
Have a motion? Is that
The
good?
conditional use, yeah.
For conditional use.
Right, is that good, Mr. Scott? You think? Is that good enough?
I think that works, yes.
Okay, I need a
Yes.
second.
Second.
All in favor? I mean, we'll
Aye.
start with you, yep.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, Mr. Smith, you can see that the board has voted unanimously to grant your request. An order reflecting the board's decision will be prepared by staff and signed by the board within 60 days. A 30-day period follows from the date the order is signed, during which any aggrieved party may appeal this board's decision in circuit court, and the recording secretary will email you a copy of the order once it's been signed. Okay?
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your service.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And good luck on the future surgeries.
Right.
Surgeries?
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to text Mr. Hauser and tell him
Okay.
we're ready for him.
I am, if they're ready, yes.
Can I make a break to the head?
Yes, while you do that, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we'll be back.
I know how to read.
Before I remembered I had access to the secret conference room. We were doing this out on the patio.
We back in? I can't tell. Are we back live? We are? Okay. All right, we're back in session. And who would like to speak first? We're back on the case of Henderson's variance request VAAP 26-0180.
All right, I think the parties agreed I could just speak and sum up where we are, and I gleefully welcome that opportunity to speak more.
Okay.
Parties have talked all of the last hour and a half. We don't have a resolution in hand tonight, but we do have this, a request for a continuance until October 8th. You have room on the docket. That works for Mr. Henderson. That works for Mr. and Mrs. Dodges. That works for Ms. Anthony and Mr. Bell. And we know that Mr. Bell's company will be here on another matter that night already. Based on the way talks have gone tonight, I'm very hopeful a resolution may be reached prior to October 8th. But obviously, it is a lot for Mr. Henderson to weigh in and to consider. Not quite ready to make any commitments tonight. I think everybody understands that and is very comfortable with Mr. Henderson wanting to take the extra time. If the parties are able to reach an agreement and can get a signed lateral line agreement between now and October 8th, they know they do not have to be here for the hearing, and it will come off the docket.
Perfect. I like that. I like that.
We know you'd like that, Mr.
Yeah,
Chair.
I do. I do.
We don't need to be a judge.
No. So I do appreciate both of you all taking the time and effort to take a look at this, okay? It makes our job a little bit easier, and it can make both of you happy, okay? Because if we had continued, I'm not sure that would have happened. Somebody would not have been happy.
Steve's got a question.
But-
Mr. Chair, let's have a motion and
Yes.
and a second
Absolutely.
on that.
Yes, we'll get there, yes. Make a motion.
Any contingencies with the motion or just motion to continue?
Just motion to accept the request for continuance.
Alrighty.
To October 8th,
I'm-
2026 at 6:30 PM.
All right.
Here in the
18th or
Commissioners'
8th?
meeting room.
I move to accept the proposed continuation request for October 6th. 8th. October 8th, 2026, same time, same place, right here.
Okay. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll see you all then. Thank you very much.
Better yet, hope we don't see you.
Yeah.
Right.
Good luck.
Let's hope so.
Yes.
So we got a couple more things of business to take care of.
Connor's gonna brief us, right?
He will.
I can't talk today, man.
Mr. Howard, do you want to brief or you want us to go through the other things first? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I asked Ms. Clements if I could get just a brief moment on the board's agenda sometime prior to October 1st to go over a bill that was passed by the General Assembly this year. HB 247 altered the statutory requirements for variances from a local jurisdiction's critical area program. The memorandum summarizes what those changes are, gave you a copy of the statute, gave you a copy of the fiscal and policy note, which is a document. Fiscal and policy notes get prepared by the Department of Legislative Services for every single bill that Annapolis considers. The F&Ps are supposed to be summaries of current law and what this change will do to current law. Obviously, it's not everything, but it helps you out somewhat, and also gave you a list of case law that the Critical Area Commission provided to the General Assembly to explain this bill. The summary of the bill at a very high level is this, is that it makes very few substantive changes to the law as it should be applied. What it does do is takes various precepts and holdings that the Supreme Court of Maryland has articulated over the years to expound on what the words in the statute mean. It's taking that case law and codifying it into the statute. So, for example, we have a standard now that asks whether the recipient of a critical area variance is being allowed to use a structure or develop a use that would be otherwise denied to similarly situated property owners. Case law has been very clear for, I think, about 28 years, if I'm remembering right, that you're only supposed to use as your comparison for those similarly situated properties in a similar critical area zone subject to the critical area, that it's not proper, for example, to compare the use to what a grandfathered property is doing because it had the good fortune and benefit of coming in before the critical area program existed. The only real substantive changes that I think are here are not all that material to St. Mary's County. The biggest change is it writes in that if a county uses administrative hearing officers to decide critical area variances before a Board of Appeals, that administrative officer, if their decision is appealed to the Board of Appeals, that the Board of Appeals must show the administrative officer deference, and that it must hear that appeal on the record, not de novo. That is obviously a departure from how St. Mary's County does things. That's a departure from how the law said St. Mary's County must do things as a good old-fashioned commissioners of St. Mary's, or a commissioner form of government county. In practice, though, we don't decide critical area variances administratively in St. Mary's County, right or wrong. That's not going to be a change in business from the way you see things right now. The other substantive change was that, one moment, I swear my memory fails me, is that it mandates that relief, if there is a way to obtain relief administratively without resorting to a variance, you must pursue that administrative method before resorting to a variance. That's going to have one application here in St. Mary's County. You see from time to time that a property might be eligible for impervious surface trading approved by the Planning Commission. Sometimes folks elect to take a variance instead just because the Planning Commission sometimes can't hear a case as quickly as the Board of Appeals, and the Planning Commission is very unfamiliar with critical area commissions or critical area cases because they're not used often. If the relief requested is eligible for impervious surface training, that's now a must go to the Planning Commission, not a may go to the Planning Commission or the Board of Appeals at your election. Other than that, for the most part, this bill just says, do what you always should have been doing from the first place. It's just the statute, I think, are going to be written in a way that's clearer, that what would instead have to be found by digging through cases is now going to be upfront written into the law itself. That's going to make it easier for, I think, Board of Appeals members to know what the statute's being based on. We'll redo the standards letters to make sure applicants know what they should be addressing as well when writing this stuff into it. Also means, for better or for worse, going to be a lot more obvious to a judge how to weigh and decide these types of opinions too, with the language right there in front of them now. Any other questions than that? Memorandum's got them. You've got the materials. I got the wind taken out of my sails when, after I asked for this time, the Critical Area Commission said, yeah, we're going to come with our own training here in a little while anyways. Thought it might be helpful to hear it from friendly staff first. Also didn't want to give up my place on the agenda, so.
Okay.
Any questions?
It's
Happy with
only
it,
when we do an administrative officer, which I guess, that's when I first came on this board 10 years ago, we did one or two then, but I haven't ever seen it since.
We haven't. For one or for worse, I mean, I'm openly angling that one of my post-retirement jobs will be as
But
St.
it's
Mary's
only
County's
that.
first permanent hearing officer. But until that day comes, I don't see any desire or any likelihood that
Okay.
we'll be changing the way we do business.
I just didn't want to see that roll over to any other appeals where.
No,
it can't
and
be
it's
de
very
novo.
clear this is critical area variances only. That's written in and applies to. Everything else you all hear will still be de novo.
Okay.
Until they change that law or put us in a charter and the good old county council of St. Mary's County decides otherwise.
Hey, I had a question, sir. So I read this today in that deference you mentioned. It says grant deference to the administrative officer's finding of fact. So I looked that up. It says acting in a polite way to honor someone's feelings, beliefs, or customs. So we could do that, but still maybe not necessarily agree with them, right?
Yeah, it sure doesn't define what deference is, and I think you're hitting on the right thing. Now, again, I will state clearly my opinion. What we're talking about here, say if somebody wanted to come in and have Ms. Andritz or any other officer designated by Lugum to hear a variance, that's the scenario we're talking about. Not, a staff report, not findings or recommendations in a staff report. It's an actual hearing, an actual decision, which, again, we just don't see. Who knows what deference means? It clearly means you got to take it into account. It means you have to show some sort of respect for it and that you just don't casually disregard it or say, well, we can just kind of decide this however we want. And it's findings of fact only, not findings of law. So if you think that the hearing officer went in there with a definition of practical difficulty or unwarranted hardship, that isn't the actual definition of unwarranted hardship, or misunderstood or misapplied the law, no deference owed in that case, but findings of fact, like whether it is or isn't a reasonable or significant use, that's the kind of stuff. But again, very unlikely we are actually going to be put in that position where we have to confront that question,
Right.
just because of the way we
Thank you, sir.
arrange these.
Anything else?
I'm sure I'll be emailing you during the week as I read this, but I know we often hear, unwarranted hardship, right? And a lot of that is subjective with how it's being presented, and is anything changing with that term in legalese, so to speak? Because sometimes that's, up to interpretation.
No. I think, honestly, the one pattern I have seen that this is going to call more directly into, kind of just make us aware of it, is the scenario I laid out earlier, where there is a tendency to look at neighboring properties and say, well, they have a pier, they have a pool, they have a shed, whatever the case it is. And unless that property, unless that shed, pier, pool, whatever it is we're looking at on a given day, was built after 1985, subject to the critical area, cut it short, you can't make the comparisons based on what a grandfathered or legally non-conforming house has or gets to enjoy.
So while you were out on your
hold on, Pete, I just don't want to know anything.
While you were out,
Effective October 1st, right?
Better write that order real quick on this.
so we can probably chat, hopefully a little bit more in depth. But I brought that up, right? Because that exact
God,
point
I
that
leave you people for an hour and a half.
yeah, that exact thing that you just said was, the case that was referenced in the memo that basically ruled out being able to use grandfathered properties as comparables was 2007, but it's being, I guess, adopted into common practice starting October 1st. I don't know. I just want to make sure that I understand what it is I can and can't do, and what I should and shouldn't take into consideration going forward. And that's probably not an answer that I can get right now, because Mr. Scott was saying, this hasn't really been reviewed by any court or anything. It's just, okay, this is passed, but,
Yeah, so
more
the
to follow.
question is, as with any new codified law, eventually, how are the courts going to interpret the meaning and the intent of the legislature?
Yeah.
Now, this is pretty clear. I mean, what they're saying, and as we discussed in the other proceeding today, this seems pretty clear what they intended.
Yeah.
But, it's effective October 1st, and does not affect the case that we heard this evening, but is something that we should have some training about as we go forward and get to that date.
Well, the fallback, too, to come down on is that the Critical Area Commission, it is helpful they said this, and even more helpful they said it in writing. The intention behind this is only to codify existing case law. So it wasn't expressly said in a statute. What they're trying to say is that insofar as the courts have been saying this all along, or saying this is the definition of X, Y, or Z, it's bringing that more up front, making that more obvious. So you read the statute and then don't have to go searching to, well, what does that really mean?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. The chair's blessing. I'm going to go retrieve my computer so I have that handy for when we review orders, because we have some changes.
Thank you, Mr. Hauser. So next is the approval of the minutes from July 9th, 2026. Everyone have an opportunity to take a look at those?
Yeah.
Any additions, deletions, corrections? Hearing none, anybody make a motion to approve, please?
Motion to approve minutes as written.
Have a motion on the floor?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And we have 3 orders to approve as well. The first one is Atkinson and Lehman order. That was to, that was a order for, to exceed lot coverage for the property, and that order was denied by a vote of 4-1. I just need a motion to sign it.
Mr. Hauser, did you see my question about the testimony?
I did.
And of course, of what I went back and looked at the film, and I was just saying, those are specifics that I believe Steve Vaughn put into testimony. And I'm just saying, for the benefit of the failed applicant, maybe specifics are good or bad, I don't know which, in this order.
Give me one moment. So there are one other change that I'd recommend as well that was caught by Dr. Valke. First change to the Atkinson order would be on page 2, paragraph pleadings. Strike comprehensive zoning ordinance section 71.8.3, replace with comprehensive zoning ordinance section 41.5.3.1. In staff's haste, staff misquoted the statute that is for the 100-foot or intrusion into the 100-foot buffer, not the statute that creates lot coverage limits. The statutory reference is correct elsewhere in the proposed order. Then Mr. Brown's proposed change would be on page 6, final paragraph summarizing the applicant's testimony. Says the revised variance request proposes less lot coverage than existed on the parcel prior to the new redevelopment. Mr. Brown would suggest adding the specifics, and the numbers may be wrong, so with the understanding the board that we could correct them with the right one, to add a sentence that says, prior to any redevelopment, 10,891 square feet of lot coverage existed on the property, period. Next sentence after that, under the revised variance request, total lot coverage would be 10,300, or 10,654.
Well, see, and what Vaughn gave us was 6, who knows what the numbers, if they have to be revalidated, but.
I'm pulling numbers from you know where when I say that right now.
And
So if they are not the
those
accurate
numbers,
numbers.
I pulled from
we'll
his
fix them.
testimony that I provided you, okay? The 10,895, the 10,610.
Okay.
And the fact that it was under by 285 was less than the original, would be 285, obviously. I'm just saying, I think those numbers would be better for the benefit of the failed applicant if they want to pursue anything.
And I don't disagree. Certainly the order wouldn't be.
I don't either.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, because, staff will agree too, I think, that when the survey and all gives us numbers, they've been surveyed numbers, not a, what you call yours? It's a, no, the surveyor's numbers is most time
Correct.
more correct
Than the SStat.
than the SStat numbers that you'll use. Okay, so I'm with Mr. Brown. If that's the numbers that we got from the survey, then that's probably what we
No,
should.
not disputing the numbers. I just can't remember them.
I'm just
I
saying,
think
if you
the
look at
prints,
the
right.
tape, it's right that Steve Vaughn is testifying just before we go to discussion.
But no objections to adding the 2
Right.
sentences then to that
Okay.
paragraph stating the specifics.
Now, Mr. Vaughn also indicated that it was not in the buffer in his testimony.
You can add that.
I don't know that makes.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying
Right.
that if those 2 items get put in,
Okay.
would it be any problem?
Okay, no issues, and we just handle that one. I follow you now, Mr.
So
Brown.
those
So we
numbers
would
will
just
be on
add
the-
another bullet point that Mr. Vaughn testified that no new additional lot coverage would be proposed in the buffer.
But I'm just saying,
Capital
I'm
B.
referencing you back to
Got it.
his testimony at the end.
So some of those numbers are on the signature page, so we'll have to sign them a little later.
So where are we on our 60 days on that one? Mr. Hauser, do you want to?
Up on it, and I'd
Okay.
say what we can do is, give me a moment.
So let's
We
make
can-
a
we
motion.
can take care of that
To
today.
approve it, subject to the changes.
Right.
All right.
So,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
so I'm right there with you, Mr. Scott. We need to make that motion to be able to approve the order. And then Mr. Scott and I will have to come down later and sign it.
Signature
Yeah.
page, signature page is good to go, though, because the only number on the signature page is shall not exceed a lot coverage limit of 10,345 square feet. 10,345 square feet was the lot coverage approved under the prior variance.
Okay, then we
That
okay.
number doesn't need to
Even
change.
better.
Yep.
Yep.
So just a motion to approve.
good? All right.
As amended with the numbers.
All right, motion to approve order as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And the amended items, Mr. Hauser, you have that, right?
I have the 3 amendments.
Okay. And the next one is the Schonbauer property, variance request, 26-0485, and that was to approve, applicants are granted the request variance to disturb a 100-foot critical area buffer for a 12 by 18 deck. And there was a unanimous vote. Just need a motion. Sign the order.
Were you good, John, with the stuff I get?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, motion to approve order is written.
Have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next one is Cole and Lee property.
One clerical change, the compliments of Dr. Valky on the Cole and Lee property. Page 3, first bulleted paragraph under departmental testimony and exhibits. Strike recorded in the land records per Plat Liber 68 folio blank, replace with Plat Liber 68 folio 63.
Okay.
Good.
We're good there? And that order was to requested variance to disturb a 100-foot critical area buffer to expansion of a sunroom, deck, porch, and attached to the existing dwelling.
It was the house that was falling down, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the guy that had the great package for
Yes.
the architectural
Yeah, I mean,
changes.
so basically, the house was crumbling before him,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Yes. Just need a motion, please.
All right,
Second.
motion to approve order as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Hauser, do you have anything else for us?
No, sir. Thank you for your
Scott?
time and patience and
You
grace.
good?
I'm good.
Okay.
And
Anybody else?
I'd like to wish a belated birthday to Mr. Payne. Okay?
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Mr. Payne.
Thank you.
Anything else? Motion for adjournment?
All right, motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.